welcome to another exciting episode of Amazing Amazon on Captain TV, coming from Lagos. I hope you enjoyed the last episode of the show. Welcome to the show where you get inspired and motivated by great personalities, Amazons. So welcome on board. I am Tosin Adeyemi. Yes, women are known as change makers in the society, but we need to understand and have the mindset of having a positive change. What kind of change are you making in your space, in your environment, your community, your environment? So it's pertinent for us to understand that as women, we are agents of change wherever we find ourselves. So how are you making this change visible to people around you? So on today's interview segment, I will be speaking with one of the change makers, women, African women making a positive change in their development sector. So join me on the interview segment. All right, welcome to the interview segment. Yes, my guest for today is Oluwatoyin Banjo. She's an enterprising speaker, catalyst for change, innovative. She's got great leadership excellence and also passionate about youth transformation and nation building. So she's known, you can refer to her as a change maker, catalyst for change maker. I hope I put it right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tosin.
It's so nice to be here with you.
Thank you. It's really my pleasure.
Yeah. So let's meet you. What do you want us to know more about you? Let's know you better. Who is Oluwatoyin Banjo?
Thank you very much. So Oluwatoyin Banjo is a catalyst for change. I'm someone who is very passionate about change making, and I do this passionately through the various opportunities I get to work and transform lives generally. My resolve or resolution is to always outwit my best, at whatever I do. And that's why I refer or regard myself as a catalyst for change. And this has taken me through the journey and the opportunity of partnering with organizations to birth transformative change, across lives and within organizations.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, you're part of the female change makers that we are seeing now, but we want to know you better. How would you describe your childhood? Let's begin with that.
Beautiful question. I like that. All right. So I grew up from a family or within a family of five. First child.
Wow.
Twin born.
Wow.
Yes, I'm a twin. It's Taiwo. For that matter, I don't know if Taiwo is the oldest of the
Where's the Taiwo now?
No, I'm the Taiwo.
Okay, you're the Taiwo.
Yes.
So where's the Kendi?
Kendi. Okay, I don't know. It's quite emotional, but she's with the Lord.
Oh.
Exactly. But she's in a great place. We'll meet her soon.
Yeah.
And I'm making great change and also doing what she couldn't do, here on earth. And I'm sure she's right there cheering me on as a great witness. And she's super proud of me and what God is doing in and through me and who I am becoming. I've not scratched the surface, but I'm not where I used to be. And I'm grateful to God for that. So back to the childhood story. So yeah, I grew up within the family of five, the first child, of course twin siblings and all, and of course I had my Idowu. And interestingly, my parents are strict disciplinarians. At that time, I really didn't understand, their penchant for discipline. But I am grateful to God for, that disciplinarian posture, because it has shaped and has continued to shape the person that I've become. A lot of people regard me today and will say, Professor, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're brilliant and all of that. But it's because I grew up from a family of academics. My mom is a lecturer, currently like a professor,
wow.
In the making, an associate professor in the making.
Okay.
My dad is an engineer. So we're all bookworms. So imagine everybody had no choice. Exactly. Everyone had no choice but to, get into your books. And I was grateful for that. But at that time, I really didn't understand it because, you were sort of refined. You weren't permitted to go out as other people would, have the opportunity to go out.
That's to be your book.
Exactly.
Your studies.
People had the opportunity to sleep over at friends' places, but we never did that. You know, at that time, we always felt like we were in prison. We were in prison. You know, that was the feeling. But I'm really grateful for that upbringing because it has really shaped the woman that I have become, and I'm grateful for that. So that's my childhood. You know, in short. Back then also, it was not just the academics. You know, an opportunity to also grow more in my education. It was also an opportunity where I sort of began to explore my speaking gifts. So at that time, I think when I was in primary 4, I partook in, at that time, I don't know if anyone would know it, we used to call it Speak Out. If you remember, Speak Out, and you would debate with, you know, other children and all.
Schools.
Exactly, other schools. So I was also a debater. So, but at that time, you really didn't know that, okay, this speaking gift was on the inside of you. But that was an opportunity. It started from there, and that memory stuck with me, you know, all through my, you know, years. And as I began to move on to secondary school, you know, of course, I started with a passion to study in commercial class. But by the time I was done with my SSC, we had the opportunity to do our national diploma first. And that was where I ventured into studying mass communication. Okay. And that's where, of course, I began to explore in fuller dimensions my communication gifts and all. And then from there, from bagging the ND, the National Diploma degree, I got a direct entry into the university, you know, private university at that time, Bowen University. And then, of course, blazed that flying colors. Myself, my twin sister, blazed it. She studied accounting. I studied mass communication. We graduated with first class summa cum laude, you know, top of the class and all of that. And of course, went on to bag my MSc, Masters, and now currently working on my PhD program at the interim. So let me just say my childhood was really, was a schooling system for me.
Yeah, learning.
At that time, I really didn't understand it because I felt, I'm just being very truthful, I felt imprisoned, you know, back then, not just me, myself and my siblings. But as we began to advance into university and we got out of university, it became clearer, you know, why these things had to happen.
And you got to know that they
exactly.
were just training you.
Training us, exactly.
Okay, no, I understand that there's so many people right now that will be thankful, that thank God, because usually they used to say, oh, you are get inside children. They'll call it, they'll say it in Yoruba, Omo get inside.
Yeah.
Their parents do not allow them to leave the compound, to leave the house, like going to see your friends and all of that. So I one thing that I would say that I really love about your parents, and I feel that parents of this age should emulate, is the fact that your parents were disciplinarians, and the discipline the discipline they were giving to you then, you saw it as like wickedness, like why wouldn't you allow me play with my friends and all of that? But if you try that in this age, what would they tell you? Yes, they'll tell me it as maybe child abuse, you're abusing your child and all of that.
Exactly.
So bringing back that kind of discipline into this modern age is kind of quite difficult.
Yes.
So,
which I agree with you.
Yeah, so I just hope that we bring that back, because we don't bring it back, who knows? We have the future generations might be the ones to suffer it. Okay, now talking about your childhood, you said your childhood experience was like a learning process for you. So now growing up, who had the major influence on you?
I love that question. So I would say both my parents, you know, had a major influence on me, because while growing up, I also learned some sort of, they modeled the marriage of how, the kind of marriage Christ modeled in scriptures. I saw how my dad and mom were so supportive of each other, you know, in and out of seasons. You know, I could see that, and I really saw that support. It was open, it was transparent, and it was just, you could see it, we could learn from it. So I would say it's both my parents, you know, but I could also now say maybe punching harder it will be my mom. My mom is a go-getter. She's a resilient woman. If you see her, you would say, I sort of look like her in character.
She's still alive?
Very much alive, doing strong, waxing very strong. So she's a go-getter, resilient. If she puts her heart to doing anything, she goes all for it. I saw them advance from seasons, difficulties into places of abundance. And I could see all this came from a place of resilience, most especially with my mom. And not just that, she's a very, I can't use she was because she's still very much alive. She is a very diligent woman, even till date. As I said, she's an associate professor in the making. And when she goes about her work, she doesn't joke with it. Even she currently lectures in a university. She's an associate professor in the making in a university. They know her. It's a landmark legacy that she has left, while still there. So for me, I took that impacted on me generally to just be resilient. I find myself in any situation, I don't give up easily. Even my team members, everyone who have the opportunity to work with me, or anyone who has the opportunity to partner with me knows that I don't give up. I would always look for a way. We would look for a way. There's a way out. There is a way out, exactly. And also that's grace and spirit, of diligence and excellence. I would say it's almost like a transference from my parents. Even a transference. There is nothing. They can use little funds to do stuff. But by the time you see it, the way it comes out, you will think they expended more than it. So that sort of grace, they sort of transfer it to me. I could do little. My team, everyone knows about it, little. But by the time we're done with it, you will think we expended a lot. Because the excellence, the finesse, the finishing result of that thing, surpasses what has been invested. So I would say directly my parents, but if I'm to punch harder, my mom.
Wow, that's great. Okay, so now what, looking at your childhood, from your childhood to now growing up, what are you mostly passionate about?
I love it. I love that question. So, of course, I think I mentioned a little or made some emphasis about this when I was, answering one of the questions earlier on. So, I would say I am passionate about service. If I'm to look at my journey and how God has carried me through seasons and opportunities to partner with organizations, it has always been from a place of service. It has always been from a heart of service. A heart to just serve with no guile, not trying to seek any ambitious move or make any ambitious move or seek any ambitious end goal by doing what I'm doing, but just with a heart to plug in an opportunity to solve a problem and then serve within that space. So be it at church, be it at ministry level, be it at organizational level, anywhere I am, it has always, the crux of it has always been the heart to serve. The heart to serve. And I've seen this ring true, how I have moved through phases of life, phases and different phases of life and opportunities. It has always been from the place of service.
Okay. So now tell us, what was that decision that you made that changed the trajectory of your career? That decision you made.
I love this question. It's so hard. So, and I can give you an in story. Anyways, my parents already know this, so I'm not blowing it on.
Okay.
Or tooting their on. So, it all started in December 2017 when I was on my way to work that morning. I was on a bike to work, and I just had that nudge in my spirit that it was time for me to exit from that organization at that time, the insurance firm I was working with. At that time, it was about 8 years of working experience with them. And I just had that nudging in my spirit that it was time. Of course, taking that kind of decision, if you wanted to be swift with it, you won't want to directly involve your family. You just, once you have a confirmation, you would want to just run with it. So what I did, I knew, it's not that when I say I don't want to involve my family, now I understand them better. At that time, I didn't really get it. They were just concerned that, okay, when you exit, to what?
Yeah, they want to know what next.
What's next? What's the plan? So it wasn't like they were trying to confine you, you understand? But they were just trying to be sure that, okay, what's the plan? What next? And for me now, learning one thing, as my mentor Didike would always say, you can't be too safe. If you try to be too safe, you will never be significant. So it made sense at that time. Of course, at that time, they were just trying to say, okay, what's the plan? But for me, I had to make that critical decision. And at that time, I didn't notify them. I didn't inform them until I had taken the decision. And what was that? I had to, turn in my resignation. So I got the nudging. I turned in my resignation. Even at the organization, there was even that resistance. Everyone was wondering why at this time. So the MD even, had a sitting with me. Are you okay? Then it was the CFO that I was reporting to at the time. He also had a talk with me. What's the problem? Is everything okay? Why are you existing? They wanted to know what's your next plan. Even at that time, I really didn't have a plan, but I knew at that time I used to run like an event management company.
Okay.
Or I was passionate about event management, of course, which ties down to my prowess within project management. Ties into my prowess with project management. So I was just, interested in event management. I just said I want to start an event management firm at that time.
Even you at that time, you were not sure.
I was not super clear, but I knew I needed to make that move. And I knew that it was in taking that action that it would become clearer. And that's where a lot of people, a big risk. Most people think it's until you get the big picture, that's when you move. But in our work regard, we have seen that most times it requires you taking the bold step first, and the picture gets clearer. So that's what happened with me, exactly.
Okay.
So, and then I took that big decision, made that bold step, resigned, and I'm telling you, I'm forever grateful to God that I made that critical decision.
Wow.
So the last 5 years have been redefining for me. Redefining 5 years. I have seen growth, transformative growth and development, and I'm grateful for the journey. Really, I am grateful for it. And that was how I stepped out, and as I said, stepped out and then decided to volunteer with Ideation of Africa as a volunteer project manager at that time. And that was it. I decided to volunteer with them as a project manager at the time, and that was it. Started out as a volunteer, and then from there, I got the opportunity to be integrated as, a program manager, and then moved upwards to a program director. And that's the journey. And then the journey of working with change makers, social innovators, has been just really redefining, has been highly transformational for me. So it's really one redefining process that happened in my life that I have no regrets. That I made that bold step. I have no regrets. I did that at that time.
Wow, that's great. All right, now looking at what you do presently, you have started making that change right from 2018, right?
Yes.
Said from 2018.
Yes.
Okay, now from 2018 till this moment, how has the journey been so far?
Thank you very much for that question. The journey has been worthwhile. Of course, it's stretching. Of course, it stretches my capacity as both a leader, as a change maker, and I'm grateful for that journey. It's stretching my capacity, and I'm grateful for that stretch, because one thing about stretch, they extend your capacity. It enlarges your capacity for more, and it builds that formidable capacity to build for the long term. And that's what has happened with me. The opportunity that I've had, I have seen myself extend, how God has extended me to step into opportunities, do things that ordinarily I would, not that I wouldn't say I never thought I was capable of, but you would never ever have maybe really thought that at this time you would step into it. But I just see those doors open up and I just step into it, glide into it. Of course, still with that art of, okay, what is happening? But I trust God, trust the process. Trust God and trust the process. And then dive right in. Because one thing I'm beginning to learn with my journey is that the process is working out something great, in me. It is first the person that I am becoming, and I'm grateful for that person that I am becoming. I'm not the same person that exited that organization in 2017. I am totally and entirely changed, totally different. And it's not really about me. It's really about the opportunities that I've had to influence people directly and indirectly through what I do. I've seen people walk up to me and just say, just based on how you lead, and I've seen how you extend your leadership, I am truly inspired. I'm motivated, to do what I do. That enough. Not even with the fact that I have any direct mentorship opportunity with them, but just with the fact that how I lead, how I live influences and directly impacts how they transform and how they build their lives.
All right, thank you so much for that. We'll go on a quick break now, but when we come back, we'll talk about that area, that sector you're actually making that change, and you also share more with us. All right, viewers, stay with us. We'll be back after this time out. All right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Okay, now before the break, I asked a question. Now let me ask again that in what area are you making that change? Because I've seen a lot of people saying, a lot of women say, oh, I want to be a change maker, In what sector? How do you make this change?
I love that question. So I thank you for the opportunity to make a change within the development sector. So the development sector is what is usually regarded as the third sector, or better still, sometimes some people regard it as the social sector. And the development sector comprises of civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, not-profit organizations, social enterprises, and even for-profit, impact-driven enterprises or organizations. So playing within this sector has been very, very interesting, and really, it has really opened and exposed me to, one, the very wicked problems that exists, the present problems that exists within the continent, and also seeing the different impact areas through which every one of us can really partner for sustainable change. So there's why I'm saying every one of us. It's not just the obligation of those playing within the sector. We've come to realize that it's now a collaborative effort across sectors. We are all, one way or the other, change makers within what we do, within our work. Whether you are even a TV caster, you are a communicator, you are an entrepreneur, whatever you do, you are making change. Well, and what do we mean by making change? When you're making change, it means that you are birthing something new that never existed. You are solving a problem. Whether sustainably, whether sustainably or long-term, whether short-term, mid-term, whatever it is, you're solving a problem one way or the other through products or services, right? And then, whatever you're doing as a change maker influences, directly impacts on people, lives, community, and the environment, and the society at large. Today, I'm sure you're married with children. If you stand before your kids, or we invite your kids today, whatever age grade they may be in, we ask them, has mommy been of any influence to you? They will say yes. Because one way or the other, you are modeling something to them.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So as change makers, whatever sphere we find ourselves, we are modeling something, whether it's good, whether it's bad. So when we say being a change maker, we're not saying being someone who makes change for good. You're trying to carry out or make, ensure there is, you're carrying out social good within a space. Whatever you're doing is for the good of the public, of the society. That's what we mean by change making. And that's what we mean by being a change maker. Whatever I do. So whatever decisions I make as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as an officer or a staff of an organization, it impacts directly, positively or negatively within the organization. But as a change maker, whatever decisions I make, solutions I provide, innovations I birth, must birth positive transformation. So that's what we mean by change maker, change making. And within the development sector, that's what we do. So the third sector is now powering this through the civil society organizations, powering this through the non-governmental organizations, powering this through social enterprises and impact-driven enterprises as well. So we now also have seen that in this time and age, the development sector cannot work in silos anymore. We now need collaborative efforts, collaborating with those in the public sector, those in the government parastatals. Do you understand? Working with those in the government parastatals, ministries, whatever it is, as well as with the private sector, those working within conglomerates, corporates. That's why you see that a lot of organizations, even in the for-profit private sector, carry out CSR, corporate social responsibility. Because in their own little way, that's also change making. That's also driving transformative impact. And now in today's age, that has metamorphosed into sustainability. So everyone is driving towards sustainable development goals. Everyone is finding their place within the SDGs. Whether you are playing within the development sector, whether you're within the private sector or public sector, you are finding your place within the SDGs. What goal are we solving through what we do? And that's why my journey through the development sector has been very expository. And I'm grateful for, what is unfolding and the opportunity we get, or the opportunity I'm getting to partner for change and really partner for sustainable development across the continent.
Thank you so much for educating us on that, especially giving an eye-opener about what change making actually means, because I believe that some people might not really understand the in-depth knowledge of what it means to be a change maker. So you can always be a change maker wherever you find yourself, wherever space you find yourself. Yes. Okay, so now you are a change maker and you've been doing this for a while. How has been the responses so far, feedback right now? It's one thing for you to be a change maker. It's another thing for you, for people to see what you're doing and embracing and appreciating what you're doing. So how has the feedback been so far?
So of course, as a change maker, I'm having the opportunity to partner with an organization that equips and empowers social innovators and change makers across the African continent. So for us, the feedback has been positive. It's been mind-blowing. Reading from a lot of change makers who either partake in our programs, executive education programs for social entrepreneurs and development practitioners. And we see how the knowledge they garner is playing excellently, redefining an understanding of their work, and now they can build sustainably for the long term. So for me, it's been positive feedback. It's been positive feedback. A lot of times we read from our community members, because we have a thriving ecosystem of over 20,000 within Ideation of Africa. So reading from some of these team members, community members, And not just reading, seeing the rapid transformative impact they are making within their impact areas really has been encouraging. We have different community members playing across different impact areas, gender advocacy, playing across water and sanitation, climate change, education, STEM, governance, good governance, and politics, financial empowerment and business economy and everything. We see this happening, and we see how they're thriving and building, for sustainable impact, and it's been really encouraging.
Yeah, we need more women to like rise up to be part of this train of change makers. So now, advising women, how can women rise up to make a positive change in their environment? We have so many things going on in the environment, immoral acts that people see as a norm. That is not normal, but because of where we find ourselves, probably technology, advancements, or anything like that, has bring about so many immorality, moral decadence, and all of that. How can women rise up to change this narrative, to make this positive change in our environment?
Women are powerful. We are powerful entities. Women carry so much potentials and so much power in them. That's why if we look at how even the birthing process, it starts with the woman. It is the woman who carries a seed of a child in a womb for 9 months. Yeah. And after 9 months, it's the same woman who goes through the pain of seeing the seed come forth as a child. And it's the same woman who goes on to nurture this child, of course, in partnership with her husband, but nurtures this child directly, breastfeeding, nurturing, taking care. So you can see that power that we carry. We are powerful. And I believe strongly that God endowed us with this nurturing capacity and ability, not just for us to nurture the next generation, but also to nurture the next generation of change makers. So when we see how women as ourselves, when we see ourselves as having direct influence on seeds, on people we impact with, the power, the nurturing grace and capacity that we carry, and that you have a mothering tendency, that when you have the capacity to get people together, you can influence them as a result of your nurturing capacity. So I know as a nurturer, there is the gift of love that God has endowed you with, and that is a tool. So I want us as women always think it's the flip script. You deploying, of course, it's handing it side by side. You understand? You hand love and of course discipline. Discipline, of course, is love. But the first tool is love. When a mother births a child, even on the bed or whatever, just hearing the cry of the baby, already the mother is emotional. You understand? The first thing, you're not thinking of disciplining the child. You're looking at the child, I carried you for 9 months.
And I can see you.
And I can see you. So it's the same thing if women begin to deploy their nurturing capacities and doing this hand in hand with their gifts, the gift of love that the Lord has put in us. That gift to love. And love does not mean you don't discipline, but discipline can be done from a place of love. And as with that, whatever sphere you find yourself, are you an entrepreneur? You're creating your gifts from a place of love. And of course, as you're doing it from a place of love, you're aligning it with, okay, God, as a nurturer, there is something, there's a burden you have put in me for a particular time and for a particular people. God, show me that. And He shows you what it is. And then you begin to see the opportunity. Then women, God begins to draw people to you. Because we all women, every one of us, we all have people we are directly influencing. Yeah. We all have people we're directly influencing because the capacity and the grace to nurture has been put in us. It's a natural endowment of God. And all we need to do is to explore it. The moment we explore this as a tool, as a talent, as a gift, and you do it intentionally, side by side with love, we'll go places. And you will be able to make transformative change and impact. It will be from a place, a place that resonates with people that come with you. It's not like, okay, you're trying to force it or you're trying to replicate something else that is not you. You understand? You're aligning with who God says you are and just exploring that nurturing capacity that He has put on your inside to birth transformative change. And this tool is what we can do across any sphere of influence. You're an entrepreneur, you're working in a corporate space. Everyone has people, every one of us, we all have people we're directly influencing. And as women, we have the power, we have the nurturing capacity, and we can do much more. The way we have been wired as women, we have been designed for a lot, designed for more. And that's why when you look at even the womb of the woman, you're wondering as the baby is growing, is expanding. Yeah. And you imagine after she gives birth to that baby, the womb contracts, her tummy reduces. So you see the opportunity that we can go to as much length as we want to. Most times, we are the ones that limit ourselves. It is the woman that limits ourselves through a belief system, through the conditioning of environments, and either their backgrounds, where they grew up in, what they have seen, what has been exposed to them, the limiting conditions. Those are the things speaking and limiting them. But the moment we can get past that and begin to build, really connect with the opportunity to make change from the place of the nurturing capacity and love and the things God has put on you inside, you see that you go places and you just get the leads off. The leads are off. You get it off. It starts with you. And it starts with the woman understanding first that you are powerful. The moment a woman understands this and ensures she guards her mind, guards her mind, it's very important that she is the force, the entity who has the power over, who has the power over who she becomes, you understand, and what she really transforms into. No one has the power. It's really your responsibility as a woman. And we're endowed with so much. And that's why I said the pregnancy, when you see how big the baby is, you see how much more that you can grow.
Yeah.
And the moment you just see that you can't grow so much is because you are limiting yourself through constrained thinking, constrained and refined thinking or mindset. And the moment you can take the leads off, you go places.
Wow. I love the fact that you said some women are limiting they are limiting themselves because of certain constraints. Now, if you find yourself in an environment whereby, or let me take for instance an organization, you're trying to make an impact, making a change. I believe making a change is doing the right thing, doing what is right, or bringing about innovations, ideas, and all of that. But you're trying to make this change. But even the environment, the organization, they are not in line or in support with what you're doing. So at that point, what would you do?
Okay, I love this question. So one thing I always tell people is, in this path of purpose, every opportunity you find, any opportunity or space you find yourself, you wasn't accidental. It was for a time, for a season, and for a purpose. So now the responsibility behoves on you as to whether you maximize it optimally or otherwise. Now, you don't have control over externalities. When I mean externalities, you don't have control over certain things within your environment that may want to hamper you successfully maximizing that opportunity. But you have control over how you decide to maximize that opportunity. Do you get it? So just as this question goes, it says there are constraints within that environment, sort of restricting that person from making change within that organization. Now, those constraints, yeah, can be there. But the one thing we must define is that change is progressive. Change is not one-off. So, change starts with our everyday action. So, whatever change this person wants to make within that space, just starts with the person doing something intentionally and consistently different from the norm, and not shrinking, breaking the consistency because the person is not getting a direct validation from his environment, or getting a direct encouragement from the environment. That's why, I thank God for the opportunities of community. And that's why what we do within Ideation of creating an ecosystem where other like minds, change makers, social innovators, development practitioners, non-profit professionals come together and can garner support, influence, encouragement. So when you are not getting it from whether your working environment, you must ensure you have a community that can feed that. Do you understand? So when you are plugged into a community that feeds your mindset, when you are now trying to birth change within that corporate space, you are doing it from a place of, okay, I'm being fed, my mindset is growing, then I do this, make this change in progressive steps. Whether I get any validation or not, I would not stop doing it. But a lot of times, what we do it today, tomorrow, then we stop because we are getting negative vibes, you're getting negative feedback. Don't be discouraged. The goal is to ensure you're taking progressive steps towards actionable change and transformative change. Be consistent at it, and of course, don't do it with a goal to seek validation. Just keep at it. And I can bet it with you, someone is being directly impacted by what you do.
All right, thank you so much for your time. In 60 seconds, what will be your parting shot in the area of advising and motivating females, younger females watching us right now? Just 60 seconds.
All right. So my watchword to every young female change maker out there is that with every opportunity you get and with everything that you do, always ensure that you align with the vision that is at the heart of what God wants to do in your life. Now, God has planted a desire, planted a vision on the inside of each of us. And when it is time for a thing, He stirs it up through desire and a burden. So when our young female change makers begin to pick these desires, begin to seek outlets through which you can be mentored, through which you can volunteer and get into right action so that that gift or talent or potential is sharpened, and as such also planting yourself within communities of like minds where you can develop overall.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate every bit of our conversation. Yes, I believe you've learned one or two things. It's even more than one or two things. I hope you've learned a lot from our guests this evening. So thank you so much for staying with us. We'll take the quote for today. Thereafter, we wrap up the show. Stay with us. guys, that is the much we can take on today's episode of Amazing Amazon, and I hope that you have learned a lot, especially from the interview segment with my guest Oluwatoyin Banjo, speaking about how women can rise up to be a positive change maker in their space, wherever they find themselves, your environment, even your family, your community. You can rise up to be a change maker. Be part of those who are bringing about that change in their community. So thank you so much for being a part of the show for today. So till I come your way again next weekend, I remain your host, Tosin Adeyemi. Bye for now.